Hello, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about national service and how, guess what? That's going to affect you if you live in the United Kingdom at this point, or if you intend to live in the United Kingdom at any point in the near future. So before we start, before we start this video, guys, can you click the buttons below, the like, the subscribe, and the notification bell, just so you guys don't miss another video? So before we start the video, I want to make the difference between national service and conscription. Some people use them interchangeably, which they are not. So national service, although it can imply military service, it does not mean that you're going to go and fight in some sort of conflict. That's what conscription is. So on the one hand, we have national service, which would be as we're going to come to in the articles in a moment. Normally it does mean military service, but I think national service in the United Kingdom very soon is going to be contextualized in doing service to help the war effort as we move forwards. So that can mean anything from working in a relative industry, helping the emergency services, doing something to what he says to help the nation, whereas conscription is solely focused on military and going to fight. So I just thought I'd get that those differences out there, because a lot of articles use them interchangeably, and the phrases, they're really not interchangeable. National service is what I've just said. It's you don't have to do it in times of conflict. Conscription is when you're being conscripted to go and fight in a foreign land somewhere. So I just want to get that off my chest now and let people understand this video is going to be talking about national service. Now, I do feel national service is going to come back. Whether that leads to conscription, I'm unsure at the moment. But the main reason for national service coming back that could potentially move to conscription, but I don't see that yet, is because of the war in Ukraine right now. And I've done many videos. I do it every day. In fact, I'll do it in a moment. I show you guys the war map and I show you how much ground the Russians are taking. And if you consider that this pace has been kept up now for like, I think since August at least, you know, at some point, Ukraine will be no more, and the boundaries of Ukraine will be totally occupied by the Russians. And at that point, what are people going to do? You know, so boots on the ground in Ukraine is an inevitability at this point. So let's just go straight to the map if I can find it. Yeah, there it is. So I'm going to go quickly to the map, and I'll do another update. I'll do an update on Ukraine later on today, but I just want to show you guys the reason why, you know, national service is going to happen. Just this is the ground in Ukraine. I'm just going to go forward real quickly and show you how much ground the Russians are taking every day. Now, this can be boiled down to one simple reason. There are not enough men in Ukraine defending this region. There are not enough men in Ukraine to defend that region of the world. So why is the UK going to get involved then? Well, you know, you can argue why the UK is getting involved. We can argue till we're blue in the face. Should we have got involved? Should things have been handled differently? Should we be supporting Zelensky? You know, all that stuff is valid arguments, you know, and valid arguments for another time. And if you join me on the live stream, we can talk about that in real time. But the reality is we are committed, and there's no way out of it now, because the Russians understand that the United Kingdom are one of the leading components of the Ukrainian of the Ukrainian military. So a couple of articles that have come out in the recent days. Then we've got this. Sir James Everard calls. Sorry, I can't help say that without a smirking face. So General Sir James Everard calls on British public to support total defense mindset as number of soldiers falls to a record low. Army must abandon self-harming spending cuts, says former NATO commander. So this was an article, and I'll put all these articles in the description. So this came out on the 21st of December. So you see, these things are getting, and again, I didn't even see this article come out. You know, people were too busy with, too busy with Christmas, etc. To notice these things. And then today, I think, reintroduce national service to boost the armed forces and transform young lives. So that's another article that's come out. And then we've got this guy, Hamish de Breton Gordon. Defending Britain is far more fulfilling than delivering pizza. The army offers so much more than a fast bike and a quick buck. But for too many young men and women, far too many young men and women give up on selection. So that means the military selection. As we approach the new year and the possibility that once again, young men and women of this country might have to fight another tyrant heading west across Europe. Not only do we have a pitifully small army, but it would appear that the youth of today would rather ride a bicycle delivering junk food than fighting for king and country. You know, and that sentiment there, king and country, it's kind of been eroded, hasn't it? Like, we've had so much anti-British, we've had so much anti-British rhetoric pumped into our country over the last, 10, 20 years. It's not surprising that why would people want to sign up in their droves to go and, fight for king and country, when what do we actually mean by king and country? And these people, Hamish de Breton Gordon, these people don't understand the situation on the ground. And by the situation on the ground, I mean the demographics in the United Kingdom. They don't understand that people are looking at their communities, looking at their their villages, their towns, their cities. They're looking at this and they're seeing an absolute remapping of this, of what they used to know and love, to a situation where we are now, where, people don't have an affinity with where they live. They don't know the people where they live. We have got migrant hotels popping up absolutely everywhere now. And, it's like thousands and thousands of people are coming to the United Kingdom every but you could argue every day, but certainly every week there are thousands coming. And these people predominantly don't share British culture. They don't share British values. They don't share British, the ethos, I guess, and when you've had your country diluted to such a state that it is, of course, people are not going to want to run and fight for king and country, especially when, if you guys have seen the king's most recent speech. I should probably do a reaction video to that, actually. Again, I've said I've made quite a few videos now, and I've said I don't think the monarchy is going to see a King William. I think that King Charles will be the last king of England, and then will become part of the United States. But I want to focus this video on national service and what that means. So if we go back then to when was it? To May. In fact, I will share this with you guys real quick. If we go back to May, then, if you remember the election obviously we had an election in the United Kingdom in May. So let's go to this one then. So this is from YouGov, sorry. Remember when Rishi Sunak was floating the idea of a national service plan? And since I've been doing these videos, I've got a really good memory, and I remember these things now. And I remember thinking, okay, Rishi Sunak wants to float national service, and there's so many things that Labour and Conservatives are both doing, and it doesn't seem like there's been a change in government. All it seems like, it's, if anything, I would say the Conservative plan's been sped up. Right, so Britain's divided on Rishi Sunak's national service plan. So I'll just jump down here to the would you support or oppose it being made compulsory for all young people to either serve in the military for a year or spend one weekend every month for a year community volunteering? So community volunteering in this context is going and helping with the emergency services, or doing something for the community. Now, how they framed this, I think this is a fantastic idea. I think it should happen. It'll bring a sense of community back to the community, because once these young people are helping out at a community centre, are helping build something as part of their community, they have an affinity with it, and they want to protect that, or they want to preserve that. So I do think this is a good idea. But what this leads on to, and this is how they get there, this is how they lay the seeds. So strongly support, 21%, somewhat support, 26%, somewhat oppose, 15%, strongly oppose, 30%, don't know, 9%. Right, so we've got what have we got? 47. So we've got like almost well, we haven't got an even split at all. So we've got like well, we've got more or less an even split. There's not really much in that. But remember, this is from May 2024. So we've had like, a long time for people to digest what's happening in the country. And we've had a long time to digest what's going to happen in the next coming months and, 2025 as well. So would you support or oppose it being compulsory for all you young people to either serve in the military or spend where are we, guys? Right, hang on. Right. Why is it giving us that? Why is it giving us that twice? I don't know why it's giving us that twice. Right, it's giving us it twice, but we're only going to read it once. That's a bit weird. Okay, so the statistics are there, guys. But like I said, this is from May 2024. So a lot's happened since May 2024. The conflict in Ukraine has gone. I mean, I should have probably done the map from May 20 when this was, when this poll was done, May 2024. And shown you guys how much land the Russians have taken since that time. So as we're moving forwards then, and people are saying, how can they enforce this? And if we look at this and we think, right, okay, Keir Starmer is following the same playbook by, remember what Dominic Cummings said, it's the people behind the scenes. So if we look and we think that people behind the scenes are going to, if we think people behind the scenes are going to write this script regardless, and they're going to implement national service, then we have a clue on how they're going to implement national service with what Rishi Sunak said. And he said this back in May. Remember, everything is out there. Everything is open. Everything's readily available for us to find. So, Rishi Sunak floats sanctions on young people for refusing national service. And here it is in this sentence. It tells us exactly what, what they're going to do. Now, obviously, this article was from the 20th of June. PM suggests curb on finance. I mean, like what? Like curbing finances or driving licenses for 18-year-olds who refuse service during challenging question time leader special. So, he knows, we know what's coming. This is how they're going to do it. They're going to restrict your access to banking, take away your driving license. Now, who is that going to affect realistically? Is it going to affect people with parents with ultra high net worth? Absolutely not. If Tarquin and Jeffrey don't have access to their bank accounts or a driving license, guess what? It doesn't matter because somebody else will drive them, or their dad will just open another bank account or whatever. Like all these decisions, unfortunately, they always affect the poorest in our communities. I mean, evidence of this again is the, I've done a video on this before, but remember I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before, I did a video on the private schools, how private school taxes, private schools now have to pay, I think 20% tax on, they were VAT exempt before, as I understand it. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I know private schools are now getting taxed. So they have to pass that cost on to someone. Now, again, on the face of it, it looks like, oh yeah, we're sticking it to these, to these snobs who sending their kids to private schools. But what really happens is those kids in the private schools will need to go somewhere. So let's just say private school closes and there's, I don't know, 1,000 kids now that need to find another school place. Well, guess what? They're not going to be able to, another private school won't be able to take 1,000 kids. So where are these kids going to go? They're going to have to go into the state schools. The state schools are already buckling under the pressure. So first of all, that's going to be an extra burden on the taxpayers because that's going to be another child in that school that their parents are not funding. Also, when the head teachers, and again, this is just what I think will happen, when the head teachers are looking then at admission to that school, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to choose the lowest grading students or the highest grading students to come and start first year at comp or whatever? Of course, they're going to go for the highest grading students. And who are the highest grading people in society? on whole, it's the people from affluent areas. It's the people whose parents have, it's the people from better off families. And statistically, that's the truth. Whether you agree with that or not, you can argue till you're blue in the face. Poor people who are poor don't do as well at school. And that is just the sad reality. And, I think something that was really poignant to me, when Boris Johnson said, like a couple of, when he was still Prime Minister, he said capacity is spread equally throughout the United Kingdom, although opportunity is not. And that's kind of what we have here, guys. So the poorest people who won't be able to get places at these schools, where are they going to go? So it's all well and good Labour standing up there waving their flag, but the reality is all these decisions always affect the poorest of people. Anyway, so I'm keeping this on on national service, because I do feel it's going to come back, and I do feel it's going to come back very quickly. We're already starting to see the rhetoric build up, and this comes as the UK defence, and another article here from where was this? This was released on the 27th. UK defence spending falling behind Baltics amid growing Russia threat. Again, we've got a ridiculous situation in the United Kingdom where we've got, we've literally got foreign enemy troops driving closer and closer to our country every day. I admit they're a long way off yet, but they are getting closer, and it's best to stop them before they get to our shores. While the MOD is having cuts and cuts and cuts. Can you remember when Rishi Sunak said he was going to, not Rishi Sunak, Keir Starmer said he was gonna boost defense spending up to 2.5% GDP. Like, that's just been swept under the rug. Nobody even talks about that anymore. He said there's going to be a defense review. The review, when's the review going to be done? Oh, we don't know when the review is going to be done. And now Starmer's come out and he's saying, he's asking regulators for ideas how to boost growth. All these things are interconnected. Let me just quickly share this with you, because all of this stuff is interconnected. Where are we? Starmer asks you, it's embarrassing this. Starmer asks UK regulators for ideas how to boost growth. I tell you what, Keir, cut taxes, make it profitable for people to make money, right? And you will boost growth. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, hang on, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the Chancellor and Business Secretary. I mean, are all those three, are they all stupid? That's a question, not a comment. I'm asking, are they all stupid? Written to the UK's main regulators, asking them to come up with ideas for reform that could boost economic growth. Absolutely insane. These guys, honestly, like, where do they come from? I've said this so many times. The best way to, the only way to boost growth is to grow your economy organically. And every time we hear international investment, what that means is international wealth extraction. Because guess what? Those international investors are international. So they're not from the UK. So they want to take money from the UK and put it in their bank accounts, which, guess what? It's not in the UK. I don't understand how these guys can be so, inept, really inept. So the best way to grow the economy and the best way to boost growth is to make it profitable to make money. And you don't make it profitable to make money by saying, if you earn over a certain amount, we're going to take 40-50% off you. If you're a high earner, we're going to take more money off you. That is no incentive for people to work hard. It is zero incentive. It's zero incentive for people to start a business. It's zero incentive for people to employ staff. It's zero incentive for anything other than recession. Now, all these things, national service, this is all going to be a boost into the war economy. And as we're moving forwards, the economy is going to be crumbling, the military is going to be crumbling. And I think this is really done by design, because if the military was in such, if the military was in such a state that, we had sufficient numbers, we had sufficient manpower, the economy could produce enough stuff, then the government wouldn't have to take draconian measures. And by draconian measures, I mean national service. Now, this is all leading to the same point, guys. Okay, it's all leading to a global conflict on an industrial scale. It's coming, all right. I don't like, and I've been saying this for such a long time now. I've been saying it for such a long time, and there's no denying it now. I think there was, if I'll do another rumor about, there was rumors about, well, there's not rumors. There's a few articles about the situation between Pakistan and Afghanistan. I'll do a separate video on that. But remember, the main threat in the United Kingdom comes from sabotage. Now, there was an article today from, where is it? Right, here it is. There was an article today. Now, I'm slightly off topic, but you'll see where I'm going. There was an article today. Now, I obviously can just read on the article and tell you guys what it says, okay? Airport train service hit by £100,000 cable theft. Trains to Manchester Airport have been affected by the theft of more than £100,000 of power cable from a railway line. The signalling cables were stolen from the railway line between Preston and Bolton over Christmas. Now, I'll put the link in the description. This is kind of all we get at the moment. But what I would say is these things are acts of sabotage because you're sabotaging that airport. Now, what I would say is as well, when we talk about these, is there any pictures or maps? No. When we're talking about these, cables and these, what do they call them? These power cables. These are laid in, well, they're normally laid at the side of the train tracks, and then they go in like these little cable trenches, and those run from various locations to various locations. Now, they don't just have power cables in them; they have other type of cables. So my question would be, what else was in that trench? What other cables were taken? What other cables were destroyed? Remember, we're moving towards this new phase of sabotage, grey warfare, and there's going to have to be another name for it because it's going to be paid gangs. So this paid gang, right, guys, the sun really has come out, and I do apologize for the contrast. So these paid gangs now, and I'm not saying that this was an act of sabotage, I'm saying it could be, and this is what acts of sabotage will look like. They've made, as the article says, they will have made could have made £100,000 if they sell that cable. Obviously, they're not going to be able to sell that cable for £100,000, but they will make some money on stealing that cable. So it becomes very lucrative now for these criminal gangs to act for these state-sponsored projects. Like if this is country X, who's an adversary of the United Kingdom, and they know that some sort of communication line is laid to and from Manchester Airport on that line, what they would do is say, right, you guys go and steal that cable, and we will actually pay you to go and steal that cable. And then the criminal gangs say, what about the cable? And then they say, oh, well, you can sell that or do whatever you do with cable. So you see now how this picture of sabotage and grey warfare and espionage builds up. Now, again, the only reason I'm bringing this to you guys forefront is because of the airport location. Remember, airports, energy, infrastructure, all these things are targets, targets for saboteurs. But anyway, guys, I want to leave that there with the video. The jux of this video is that, national service is coming back. Remember, there's two aspects of this, okay? National service and conscription, they're not the same thing, although some people do use them interchangeably. We know what's going to happen. We know because Rishi Sunak has talked about it. They're going to stop people's access to banking. They're going to stop people's access to driving licenses, and all this stuff's coming out now, and I feel the degradation and the cuts in spending to the UK military and all this sort of stuff is all leading towards the same eventual outcome, which is a global war on an industrial scale. Anyway, guys, I'm going to back to grid. I'll get you guys another video later.